I never thought I'd be writing this on what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Here I am, sitting in the bridal suite of the Grand Plaza Hotel, surrounded by the soft glow of morning sunlight filtering through the sheer curtains. My wedding dress hangs elegantly by the window, its delicate lace catching the light just so. This was meant to be a perfect day, the day I would finally close one chapter of my life and begin another. But sometimes, the past refuses to stay buried. I'm Sarah Mitchell, a 32-year-old medical device sales executive, and this is the story of how my wedding day turned into something straight out of a nightmare. Looking at my reflection in the vanity mirror, I can see the woman I've become, confident, successful, and finally at peace with myself. Or at least, I was until about an hour ago. Sarah, honey, the makeup artist will be here in 20 minutes. My maid of honor calls through the door, her voice cheerful and oblivious to the storm that's brewing. I glance at my phone, noticing several missed calls from unknown numbers. There's also a series of increasingly concerning social media notifications, comments and messages from accounts I don't recognize. My stomach churns as I scroll through them, each one more unsettling than the last. Something doesn't feel right. The suite's elegant wallpaper and plush furnishings suddenly feel stifling. 8 years ago, I was just a nursing assistant, working long hours in a care facility, dreaming of something more. Now, I'm a top-performing sales executive at MedTech Solutions, engaged to marry James, the kindest man I've ever known. I've worked so hard to build this new life, to become someone my younger self would be proud of. But as I sit here, watching the sunlight dance across the room, I can't shake the feeling that my past is about to come crashing through the door. Flashback, 8 years ago. I met Michael Carter 8 years ago, when I was still working as a nursing assistant at Riverside Care Center. He was 25 then, a contract IT worker who'd come to update our patient management systems. I remember thinking how different he seemed from the usually stressed-out healthcare workers I was surrounded by daily. He had an easy smile and a way of making even the most mundane conversations feel interesting. I was exhausted from a 12-hour shift, my scrubs still carrying the antiseptic smell of the care facility, when he first asked me out for coffee. His approach was casual, almost boyish, as he pretended to struggle with the coffee machine in our break room. "You know," he said, fiddling with the paper cup, "I've seen you handle much more complicated machines than this. Maybe you could show me how it works over a real coffee sometime?" Looking back, I should have noticed the red flags. The way he'd linger in the facility long after his work was done, how he'd brush off questions about his career goals, his constant complaints about his demanding supervisor. But I was 24, tired of the emotional drain of caregiving, and desperately seeking something different in my life. Our first year together was a whirlwind of what I thought was romance. Michael would surprise me with impromptu dates, usually right after I finished my night shifts. He'd talk endlessly about his grand plans for starting his own tech company, how he just needed the right opportunity. His mother, Patricia, a recently retired high school teacher, was a constant presence from the start. "Oh, Sarah, dear," she'd exclaim, hugging me too tightly whenever we met. "You're exactly what my Michael needs. Someone stable, someone who understands caring for others." The way she emphasized stable should have been my first warning sign. But I was too caught up in what I thought was love to notice the subtle manipulation beginning to take shape. Patricia would call me at odd hours, asking detailed questions about my work schedule, my salary, my career plans. At first, I thought she was just being protective of her son. It wasn't until later that I realized she was assessing how useful I could be to Michael's supposedly bright future. The early marriage years. The deeper I got into the relationship with Michael, the more I realized how much he relied on his mother, Patricia, for everything. What started as occasional advice turned into daily phone calls, then multiple FaceTime sessions each day. It wasn't just about staying in touch. Patricia had to weigh in on every decision we made, from our grocery choices to our weekend plans. Mom says we should invest in tech stocks, Michael would announce during dinner, scrolling through his phone instead of eating. She's been reading these financial blogs, and she thinks I was advancing in my career, transitioning from nursing assistant to entry-level medical device sales, working 60-hour weeks to prove myself in a competitive field. Meanwhile, Michael remained in his contract IT position, turning down permanent opportunities because they weren't challenging enough. Patricia always defended his choices. My Michael is too brilliant for these basic positions, she'd say during our Sunday brunches, which somehow became a mandatory weekly ritual. He needs something that matches his potential. Sarah, dear, you understand that, don't you? That's why your new sales job is so perfect. You can support his dreams while he finds his path. The red flags became glaring when I landed my first major account at MedTech Solutions. Instead of celebrating my success, Michael became increasingly hostile. Another late meeting? He'd sneer when I came home exhausted but proud after closing a deal. I suppose your career is more important than your husband now. Mom always said career women eventually look down on their husbands. He started checking my phone when he thought I was sleeping, convinced that my networking events were secret dates. His accusations grew more bizarre with each passing week. You changed your LinkedIn photo without asking me. He confronted me one morning, his voice trembling with what I then thought was hurt, but now recognize as manipulation. Mom noticed it first. She says it looks too professional, like you're trying to attract attention. The breaking point. The breaking point came 3 years ago, during what should have been a celebration. I had just closed the biggest deal of my career, a $2.5 million contract with a major hospital network. My hard work had paid off, and I was being promoted to senior sales executive. My hands were shaking with excitement as I drove home, imagining sharing the news with my husband. I found Michael in our apartment, sprawled on the couch, his laptop balanced precariously on his chest as he scrolled through job listings he had no intention of applying to. Michael, I got the promotion. I burst out, still wearing my sales presentation suit, my heels clicking against the hardwood floor. The hospital network signed. We can finally start saving for a house, maybe even. The laptop crashed to the floor as Michael jumped up, his face contorting with rage. Of course you got it, he spat. I'm sure you loved showing off in front of all those doctors. Did you even mention you have a husband? What are you talking about? I stepped back, my celebration dying in my throat. This is about the hospital contract, about my hard work. Your hard work. He grabbed my sales presentation folder, scattering papers across the floor. While I've been developing my startup ideas, you've been what? Prancing around in your fancy suits, making me look like some kind of failure? My phone buzzed, a congratulatory text from my sales team. Michael snatched it from my hand and hurled it against the wall, the screen shattering into a spider web of cracks. Mom was right. He was practically shouting now. She said this would happen. Said you'd get too big for your boots. That this whole medical sales thing would go to your head. As I watched my phone spark and die, something inside me finally snapped. 3 years of diminishment, of walking on eggshells, of watching my ambitions being twisted into weapons against me. It all crystallized in that moment. I'm done, I whispered, then louder. I'm done, Michael. This isn't a marriage. This is a hostage situation. The escape. The next morning, while Michael was at his part-time IT job, I executed a plan I hadn't even known I was forming. My hands were steady as I packed my essential belongings into 2 suitcases, clothes, documents, and the few pieces of jewelry that were truly mine. My sales awards and certificates, which Michael had always refused to let me display, went into a separate box. I called my direct supervisor at MedTech Solutions, Jennifer, who had always seen through my forced smiles at office functions. I need a few days off, and possibly a transfer to a different territory, I said, my voice surprisingly calm. I'm leaving Michael. Finally, was all she said, followed by, take all the time you need. I'll handle the paperwork for a temporary relocation to our Boston office. I moved in with my college friend Katie, who lived in a secure apartment building with underground parking and a 24-hour doorman. Within hours of leaving, my phone exploded with messages, not just from Michael, but from countless unknown numbers. Sarah, baby, please. Michael's voicemails became increasingly desperate. I didn't mean it. Mom says I just need to work on expressing my feelings better. We can fix this. Then came Patricia's barrage. How dare you abandon my son like this? After everything we've done for you. Michael told me how you've been flaunting yourself at work, undermining his confidence. Is this how you repay our family's love? I blocked number after number, but they kept finding new ways to reach me. Patricia even showed up at Katie's workplace, causing such a scene that security had to escort her out. You need to get a restraining order, Katie said that evening, pouring me a glass of wine as I slumped on her couch. This isn't just harassment anymore. It's stalking. She was right. The next day, I met with a lawyer recommended by MedTech's legal department. The evidence was overwhelming. Hundreds of messages, emails from fake accounts, even a blog Patricia had started about career women who destroy families. Meeting James. 2 years after leaving Michael, I met James Warner at a medical technology conference in Chicago. I was presenting MedTech's latest surgical equipment line, and he was there as the regional manager for a leading manufacturer. He caught my attention not just because of his position or his obvious intelligence, but because of how he treated everyone around him, from the keynote speakers to the cleaning staff, with the same genuine respect. That was an impressive presentation on patient outcome metrics, he said, approaching my booth during the networking hour. I particularly appreciated your focus on rural hospital accessibility. There was something refreshingly direct about him. No games, no hidden agendas, just honest professional interest and respect. When he asked me to join him for coffee to discuss potential collaboration opportunities, I found myself saying yes, despite my usual policy of keeping professional relationships strictly business. Over Lats in the conference center cafe, our conversation naturally flowed from medical devices to our personal philosophies about healthcare, and then to our own stories. I found myself sharing things I hadn't told anyone in years. My early days as a nursing assistant, my drive to move into sales to have a broader impact on patient care, even touching briefly on my failed marriage. That must have taken incredible strength, James said quietly, his eyes showing understanding rather than pity. Rebuilding yourself professionally while dealing with personal trauma isn't easy. I've seen similar situations in my family. My sister went through something comparable. What struck me most was how he listened, really listened, without trying to offer solutions or judgments. He shared his own story too, his journey from a small-town hospital administrator to his current role, his close relationship with his sister, his passion for improving healthcare accessibility. Our coffee meeting turned into dinner, which turned into regular video calls between his office in Boston and mine in New York. With James, every interaction felt equal, respectful, and genuine. He celebrated my successes without feeling threatened, and supported me through challenges without trying to take control. The wedding morning present. Now here I am, on my wedding day, staring at my phone as notifications continue to pour in. The latest social media alert makes my blood run cold. Patricia has been posting thinly veiled threats about revealing the truth at my wedding. She's tagged several of our mutual connections, including some of my current business associates. Sarah, there's a knock at the door of my bridal suite. It's James. I know it's bad luck, but we need to talk. Jennifer just called me about some concerning social media posts. I opened the door to find James there, looking handsome in his tuxedo, but with worry creasing his brow. He's holding his phone, displaying Patricia's latest post. I've already called hotel security, he says, stepping inside. And Marcus from my office, you remember, the former police officer? He's agreed to help coordinate with the venue's security team. We're not letting them anywhere near this wedding. The care and efficiency in his response almost brings me to tears. No drama, no accusations, just practical support and protection. This is what real partnership feels like. I should have expected something like this, I say, sinking into the plush hotel chair. Patricia's been eerily quiet these past few months. Too quiet. Hey, James kneels beside me, taking my hands in his. This is our day. Whatever they're planning, we've got it handled. The security team knows their photos. All the entrances are covered, and our guests have been quietly advised to alert staff if they spot them. Just as I'm starting to feel more secure, my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Congratulations, Sarah dear. I hope you've prepared a good explanation for your guests about your past. Michael and I would hate for your new friends to only hear one side of the story. The confrontation. A loud, insistent knocking at my suite door makes me jump. The sound is eerily familiar. That same aggressive, entitled pattern I remember from years ago. Sarah, I know you're in there. We need to talk about what you're doing to my Michael. Patricia's voice rings through the door. That same manipulative tone, now edged with desperation. James immediately steps between me and the door, while I reach for my phone to call security. Mrs. Carter, you need to leave. James calls out, his voice firm but controlled. There's a restraining order in place, and security is on their way. Oh, so this is the new one? Patricia's laugh is bitter and sharp. The one you think is so much better than my Michael? The one you're using to climb the corporate ladder now? I hear gasps and murmurs from the hallway. Some of our early arriving guests must be witnessing this scene. My hands are shaking as I connect with the hotel's security office, but my voice remains steady as I report the situation. You have no right to be happy. Patricia's voice cracks with emotion. Not while my son is suffering. Do you know what you did to him? He had to move back home. His career is ruined because of you. James puts his hand on my shoulder, grounding me in the present. Through the door, I can hear the rapid approach of multiple footsteps, security arriving, finally. Ma'am, you need to come with us, a deep voice announces. You're in violation of a restraining order. You don't understand. Patricia's voice rises to a shriek. She destroyed our family. She used my son and then abandoned him when she got what she wanted. All those fancy promotions, that executive position, she built it all on my Michael's suffering. The irony of her accusations might have made me laugh if it wasn't so sad. My success came not from using Michael, but from finally breaking free of the chains he and Patricia had tried to wrap around me. The aftermath. Through the door, I hear the commotion as security escorts Patricia away. Her accusations echo down the hallway, becoming more desperate and incoherent until they finally fade into silence. The hotel's event coordinator is efficiently dispersing the small crowd of witnesses, her voice professional and calm as she directs early guests to the reception area. James turns to me, his eyes full of concern but also fierce protection. Are you okay? Should we call the police? Already done, I say, showing him my phone. Hotel security is holding her for them. The restraining order violation is well documented this time. Looking at my reflection in the vanity mirror, I'm struck by how collected I appear despite everything. My makeup is still perfect. My hair still elegantly styled. Years ago, a confrontation like this would have left me in tears, questioning myself. Now I just feel tired. Tired of Patricia's drama. Tired of Michael's eternal victimhood. Tired of their attempts to drag me back into their toxic world. You know what the saddest part is? I tell James as he helps me adjust my veil. She actually believes what she's saying. In her mind, I'm the villain who ruined her perfect son's life, not the woman who escaped an emotionally abusive marriage. A gentle knock at the door. This time, it's Jennifer, my boss, and now close friend. Security called me, she says, stepping inside. I've got the legal team on standby if you need them. But right now, there's a beautiful wedding venue full of people who love and support you, waiting to celebrate. She's right. Outside this room are our real friends and family, people who have supported our growth, celebrated our successes, and stood by us through challenges. People who understand what real love and partnership look like. Well, I say, standing up and smoothing my dress, we shouldn't keep them waiting, should we? The wedding celebration. Walking down the aisle, I feel a profound sense of peace wash over me. The morning's chaos seems distant as I focus on James waiting at the altar, his smile radiating nothing but love and support. Our guests fill the elegant hall of the Grand Plaza Hotel, their faces showing only joy and celebration. The ceremony is everything we planned, meaningful, intimate, and full of hope for our future. When James recites his vows, his voice steady and sincere, I hear genuine partnership in every word. I promise to stand by you, to support your dreams as you've supported mine, to face whatever comes our way together. During the reception, Jennifer pulls me aside, champagne glass in hand. Security confirmed that Patricia's been processed for violating the restraining order, she says. But forget about that. Have you seen the latest quarterly numbers for your region? You're on track to break another record. Let's save work talk for Monday. I laugh, feeling lighter than I have in years. Today is about celebrating. James finds us moments later, wrapping an arm around my waist. Ready to cut the cake. I've been practicing my aim to avoid any frosting accidents. As we move through the traditional wedding moments, the cake cutting, the first dance, the toasts, I'm struck by how normal it all feels. No drama, no manipulation, just authentic happiness shared with people who genuinely care about us. Later, during a quiet moment, James and I slip away to the hotel's garden terrace. The evening air is cool, and fairy lights twinkle in the surrounding trees. Thank you, I say, leaning into his embrace. For everything this morning, for understanding, for being you. Partners face things together, he replies simply. That's what real love is about. Looking out over the city lights, I feel the last shadows of my past finally lifting. This is what I fought for, what I rebuilt my life for. Not just success in my career, but the chance to share it with someone who celebrates rather than diminishes me. The following days. 2 days after our wedding, while James and I are finalizing plans for our delayed honeymoon to the Bahamas, my office phone rings. It's a number I don't recognize, but something compels me to answer. It's Robert, Patricia's husband, and Michael's father. Sarah, his academic's voice is tired, strained. I owe you an apology. Several, actually. Through our conversation, I learned that Patricia's actions at our wedding were the final straw. Robert, the quiet professor who had stood by during years of manipulation, has finally filed for divorce. I enabled it all, he admits heavily. Watched Patricia destroy Michael's chance at independence, saw how they treated you. I told myself I was keeping the peace, but really, I was just being a coward. He tells me that Michael's been spiraling since hearing about the wedding. After being escorted from my parents' house in a drunken state, he checked himself into a rehabilitation facility. His first real step toward facing his issues. Not that it excuses anything they did to you, Robert adds quickly. I just, I thought you should know. And I wanted to say I'm sorry. For not speaking up, for not stopping it sooner. After hanging up, I sit at my desk, staring at the sales reports on my computer screen without really seeing them. James, who's been working from my office while our condo is being painted, notices my expression. Everything okay? I share Robert's call with him, feeling strangely detached from it all. It's weird, I conclude. I thought hearing about Michael and Patricia would affect me more, but honestly, I just hope they get the help they need. James nods thoughtfully. That's because you've moved on. Real healing isn't about forgetting the past. It's about it not having power over you anymore. Epilogue. 3 months later. The autumn sun streams through the windows of our new office in Boston, where James and I have both transferred to take on expanded roles. MedTech Solutions has merged with James' company, creating an opportunity for us to work on healthcare accessibility initiatives together while maintaining our separate career paths. I'm reviewing a proposal for bringing advanced medical equipment to rural hospitals when my email pings. It's from Jennifer, sharing news about our old territory. The hospital network I'd signed 3 years ago, the one that triggered my final break with Michael, has renewed and expanded their contract. Remember when success felt dangerous? I mused to James over dinner that evening in our new downtown condo. When every achievement came with a side of guilt and fear. And now, he's setting up his laptop for our evening routine, reviewing healthcare policy drafts together while sharing takeout. Now it feels like freedom, I reply, realizing the truth of it as I speak. Not just the success itself, but being able to share it with someone who gets it. My phone buzzes. A message from Katie back in New York. She's forwarded an article about a women's support group Patricia has joined, apparently making progress in therapy. There's also mention of Michael completing his rehabilitation program and finding work at a small tech startup. I close the message without feeling the need to respond. Their journey is their own now, just as mine is mine. As I watch James highlight sections of his draft policy, occasionally asking my opinion on patient care implications, I feel grateful for this life we're building, one where success is shared, support is mutual, and love doesn't come with conditions. Ready to tackle this rural healthcare initiative? James asks, pulling up our joint presentation draft. Always, I smile, settling in beside him. This is what partnership looks like. Two whole people, choosing to build something together.